thriving, playing, living life to the fullest. Our mission for Kansans since 2003. We are Kansas Spine and Specialty Hospital, proudly supporting KPTS, Public Television for Kansas.
The following program is brought to you by TZ Productions, offering 40 years of media experience.
Coming up on Hatteberg's People.
I'm old. I'm 14, yet I know I'm 85. I'm old.
This Wichita teenager was suffering from a condition often associated with the elderly, yet she continued to blossom as a writer and an inspiration to others. Also,
what I see is just something totally different than what everybody else does.
In a Wichita neighborhood that faces its challenges, we get the other side of the story from someone who should know. She's the mail carrier there, and she says there's no place she would rather work. Plus,
I just have no desire for it. Even when I create drinks, I have to have other people taste them.
he was the Kansas bartender who invented a famous drink. You may have heard of it, but he himself was a teetotaler. Larry interviewed him at the Crown Uptown Theater in 1999, and
we built a bridge between us. It wasn't just a wooden bridge or metal and wood. It was a bond that it gave me 7 or 8 years of time I didn't have with him before.
there is so much to this story of this replica of the Golden Gate Bridge near Mulvane and the man who built it. The story has been told before, but nobody did it like Larry. You're going to want to stick around for that. Those stories, just some of the stories coming your way on this week's edition of Hatteberg's People.
These stories are like old friends. Their lives radiate from the screen like prophets of the past. They were teachers, but not in a classroom. Instead, they taught about life to those around them who cared to listen, and I was their student.
Oftentimes, the challenges we face in life make us stronger and deeper. Such was the case with Alyssa Newton. Hello, I'm Susan Peters. Thank you so much for joining us. Larry is taking some time off. Alyssa Newton was stricken with a debilitating condition at a very young age. It stunted her growth on the outside, but on the inside, there was nothing small about Alyssa Newton.
I can't remember not having arthritis.
Alyssa Newton is 18 years old, a victim of juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, a crippling disease she's had since she was 4.
I am 4. I run hard and fast. Something terrible is coming. Run, child, run. It's coming to get you. Run. Do all you can to get away from this terrible beast. This beast who takes your childhood and your body. Be careful, child, be careful. The beast may claim your soul.
A senior now at collegiate, she hopes to major in English and creative writing in college.
American literature. Who would do that sort of thing?
It grabs me. It grabs my knees and covers me slowly, slowly. It takes my hips, my wrists, my elbows. It throws things at me, pills and syringes, hospital gowns and braces, hurling toward me until that is all I know.
Alyssa loves school and the mind-challenging aspect of education.
It's so small and comfortable, and the teachers are so good there. It's so small and that way, and you can have such a close relationship with your teachers and all the other kids in the class. I think I have a really good class. We all just really seem to click together. I'm old. I am 14, yet I know I'm 85. I am old. I walk slow behind the group. I walk slow. I walk slow. The beast took me, my body, my cartwheel body, my gymnastics body, my 4-year-old body. It has taken my outer beauty and locked it away in 1978. I can't ever get it back, ever, but I fooled it. I took some of my beauty and hid it under my skin, where my beast can't find it. If it tries, I will fight it. It will never get what's left.
After school, she works at Watermark's Books for Kids.
Oh, that's really fun. I love it. I teach a writing class there in the summers. And it's so much fun. I love it. Just helping people and showing them books that I love and sharing them. That's the best part.
While arthritis has been her world, it hasn't hindered her. Her parents told her she could be anything she wanted to be. Her friends treated her like anyone else. Those who knew her soul.
I am secret beauty. I am bluebells dancing in the wind, crisp orange and red leaves and mist at the seashore. But only if you see this. Why? Why? I am my soul. The beast never got it. My soul stays inside me. I will guard it. I will keep it safe.
Her writing, her poetry is her life, and it's clear she has a talent beyond her years. But she's like the rest of us. She lives to make a difference.
I just want to write something that touches someone else the way books I've read have touched me. That's what I want.
Alyssa went on to study creative writing and graphic design on the East Coast. She now lives in Boston and works for the Humane Society there. The lady in this next story works for the post office, and she loves her job because she loves the people on her mail route. That route is not in some ritzy part of town. Melody Myers delivers mail in the Plainview neighborhood. It is a low-income area of Wichita that's gotten a pretty bad reputation for its high crime rate. But ask Melody about Plainview. She doesn't see crime statistics. She sees people.
What I see is just something totally different than what everybody else does. Frustrates me. I mean, it breaks my heart because, the first thing I worry about is, oh no, who is it?
Melody Meyer is a mail carrier in Wichita's Plainview neighborhood. It's a place with a tough reputation, but Melody sees it differently.
Even when I tell people I work down here and that, oh, whoa. And it's like, no, it's the people are fantastic down here, but you never hear about them,
Many employees live in comfortable homes such as these in Plainview, just north of the Boeing plant.
In 1943, Plainview was called the Miracle City as thousands of aircraft workers exploded the population. It was a city expected to last only a few years. Today, over 70 years later, these temporary homes are permanent.
Plainview's here to last. So even though it wasn't built to be that way, that the people... Are you graduating today? You did.
Delivering the mail, Melody sees families trying to live quiet lives in a difficult area. As she goes about her deliveries, it's the people she says who make a difference in her life every day.
I love the way that they share with me. I don't know, people, they've really made me feel like a part of their community. I mean, once they, saw me here every day and started trusting me, they come out a little bit.
How you doing, baby? How's your day going?
Good so far.
I heard that.
As long as we keep that breeze. Share their accomplishments. Try to get that walking done before it gets too hot.
Be careful. All right.
See you later, Joe.
All right.
I feel like once they kind of brought me into the area, I feel like my family, it just expanded. I've never had a job where I want to get up and go do it, and a job that makes me feel I found my purpose.
Well, that was 2014, and since then, Plainview has continued to struggle with a higher than average crime rate. However, Melody says she enjoys delivering mail there more than ever. This next story is like a feel-good movie played out in real life. It's about a Kansas man who sets out to make his crazy dream come true, and along the way experiences poignant, heartfelt moments and the healing of a fractured relationship. Then the story climaxes in true Hollywood style. This story is from 2012.
Everything's hand done. The bridge is 150 feet long, it's 8 foot wide, and it's a little over 2 stories tall. It took 97.5 tons of hand mixed concrete. Then our suspender cables, they came out of Boeing salvage, and the bridge crosses the cow skin, and it's just a place you can sit back and just forget everything else.
I always thought, oh, it's just a bridge. But you look at it, and every day we'd come out and we look at it, or I look at it from my bedroom. I can see it from my bedroom window. It's amazing. It's big.
And so is the real one. It's the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco that prompted Larry to build his replica. In 1969, he crossed this bridge as he was headed to Vietnam. Well, he bought a postcard and vowed to build one himself. He did, over the Cowskin Creek.
It was 30 years before I got to do it, but here's my chance. And my wife said, well, go for it. You got your stuff, go for your bridge.
Then the media came calling, from the New York Times to the San Francisco Chronicle and the Today Show. Larry Richardson's Golden Gate Bridge became famous.
You communicate with people, and all of a sudden, the world is a lot better place to live.
Then readers from the San Francisco Chronicle set up a fund so the Richardsons could visit. A hotel owner paid for the airfare and gave them a suite in San Francisco. And one of their tour guides, the wife of the co-founder of Apple, Janet Wozniak. She's actually a Kansan and wanted to meet the Richardsons.
We took a boat cruise out, and then we actually went to the bridge. And when we first came around the waterway, it just, and an emotion that, like seeing somebody lost for years and years, a family relative or somebody, and there it was right in front of you.
I told Larry, I says, you know, it's not our little bridge, but I can see in the cables that it resembles it, even though it's orange and ours is gold, but that's okay.
Now, the folks from the San Francisco Chronicle made sure they were given many gifts for their tour, but most important, they saw the bridge that changed their life. And as the headline says, they weren't in Kansas anymore. For them, it was a series of firsts.
Riding in an airplane and riding in a taxi and staying in a hotel.
Now, these have been a series of firsts for the Richardsons, but the bridge they built is more than a physical symbol of a dream. It was also Larry's goal to get closer to his father, who died a few years ago, but it was his father who helped him build the bridge. His father could be a difficult and remote man, and for years the two didn't get along, but the bridge brought them together.
We built a bridge between us. It wasn't just a wooden bridge or metal and wood. It was a bond that it gave me 7 or 8 years of time I didn't have with him before. So I've got memories now that will never be erased. It gives me a purpose.
Now the epilogue. The Richardsons recently sold their acreage and their bridge to a young family. Larry says it was time for them to downsize and move into town, but he says the new owners love the bridge, and he's confident they'll take good care of it. You know, Kansans are such creative people. The man in this next story, he's another example of that. Everett Bonner invented a famous cocktail that's enjoyed around the world. Meanwhile, visitors to the Crown Uptown Theater enjoyed Everett's warm, laid-back demeanor.
Oh, I've been doing it about almost 50 years.
At the Crown Uptown Theater, every night is magic. The stage becomes the escape, and the public loves it. But there is another stage with a quiet actor.
Well, that's just me. That's just my personality.
Everett Bonner has been tending bar in this town for 5 decades.
Being a bartender, you learn many things also.
As the show goes on, this quiet man of the spirits has a niche in Wichita history.
This is the tumbleweed. This is our tumbleweed.
Sure, you know that tumbleweed, that sweet after-dinner dessert drink of ice cream, Kahlua, cream de cocoa, and brandy. But did you know Wichitan Everett Bonner invented it?
Having an admiration for Sons of the Pioneers and their song, The Tumbleweed, we named it the Tumbleweed.
That was in the 50s. Today, Bonner, at 71, works only part-time, but he loves the shows and learns from the people.
We just try to help the people have a good time and entertain them and be as nice to them as they are to us.
And it's the little things we learn from Everett Bonner.
And with blenders, you can hear the sound when the drink is ready. They have a different tone when the drink has been thoroughly mixed than they do when you first start out.
While audiences enjoy the stage show, the quiet man behind the bar has another surprise. He doesn't drink.
I just have no desire for it. Even when I create drinks, I have to have other people taste them to tell me what they taste like.
Around any city, the quiet ones, like Everett Bonner, make their mark not on life's public stage, but in small, quiet ways.
If they're happy, you be happy.
And now, when those Wichita tumbleweeds keep tumbling around the world, you might remember Wichitan Everett Bonner.
Well, it would be nice. It would be nice.
Everett passed away in 2016 at the age of 88. We share the life stories of Kansas people all the time on this show, but how about the life stories of Kansas deer? That sounds a little different, doesn't it? Well, Joelle Wells spent years taking photos and keeping records to compile biographies of Sedgwick County deer. Why, you ask? Well, listen to what she has to say.
I think that one of the reasons I was called to this is to learn patience.
It is being with these deer that hooked Joelle.
They just trust me, and that's what I get out of it, just knowing that I have that connection. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Come on.
When she's not in the field with the deer, she's here in a quiet place at home, writing her experiences in a daily internet blog.
I've always wanted to do something different, and it's exciting. It's never the same thing. I don't know, there's just a lot to a deer that just fascinates me.
She began writing when one of the deer she was studying died.
I wrote about it. I just wrote about the heartbreak of the whole thing, and because he was my baby. He was one of the ones that I studied.
Over time, her pictures became closer and closer because she takes great care to blend in, wearing brown and protecting herself from ticks and bug bites.
You know where you're supposed to be, you want to be there.
Every day, out in the field, she watches the deer and records their activities.
Now more people, be aware of deer and, that they're not just something you hunt, that they have a story, and that's what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing, is telling these deer's story. It was just something that I just became one of a family member to them, and it was just something that felt like from God.
Through the woods, the briars, and the brambles she goes. That's because that's where they are. Now the deer have accepted her so well that they permit her to be close as she records feeding time.
It's just magical, it really is. Some of these deer I've been with from the time they were conceived because I was there with them when their parents mated.
Joelle knows their families, their favorite haunts, their rituals, and their lineage. And through her photographs, she sees the deer not as simply wildlife, but as individual members of a family visible only to those they trust.
Josephine's the one with the floppy ear.
Joelle Wales is one of those fortunate people.
It's what I was created for. I really believe that.
Over 8.5 years, Joelle chronicled the lives of 4 generations of 3 deer families. She's given up the blog to focus on writing a book about these deer and her experiences observing and learning about their lives. This next Kansan had a knack for designing, building, and dreaming. He had an idea to connect the future with the past.
In Poland, in Western Europe, in Africa, and deep inside the Soviet Union.
In World War II, German tanks rolled through much of Europe.
Spearheaded by the tank formations, the German armies swept eastwards.
Now, a smaller version of those same tanks can be seen on the streets of Wichita.
Well, I make things.
Dave Schultz is a man in love with the past and with a dream for the future. Dave builds scale model working German tanks.
I have about 2,500 hours in the fabrication, and then I don't know, in that there's probably 1,000 to 2,000 hours design. And that's what I would do, is I would design at night and go out in my shop and make details in the day.
And they are detailed. This tank he calls Heinrich, a scratch-built, fully operational steel, aluminum, and plywood 1/3 scale reproduction of a German D-model Mark V Panther tank. And they're powered by 11.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine.
These two weigh between 1,400 and 1,500 pounds.
And yes, they do fire real bullets.
Any 12-gauge ammunition, plus blanks.
But that's not all. This tank he calls Helmet. It's a 1/3 scale reproduction of the German Mark V Panther tank.
These here, I built two at the same time. Okay, the Germans used one chassis to build a number of different vehicles.
Dave is an engineer and designer and not just a model builder. His dream is to create something that's never been done before.
A guy I worked with told me a story about the movie South Pacific. And Bloody Mary asked a young Marine there, do you have any dreams? And he said, no, I have none. And she said, well, if you don't have any dreams, you'll never have one come true. And I like that.
His dream is to create an industry that uses scale model tanks and airplanes not only as movie props, but for a show where participants could actually recreate and fight some of the great tank battles of World War II.
As I want to fight a battle using radio-controlled Army tanks, airplanes, the whole thing, right? But it's not the vehicles, it's the numbers. The battle that I send in my report, two tank armies collide. 700 tanks collide in one day. And I don't see why I can't use these.
Dave Schultz imagines a show that could travel from city to city, educating, reliving, and entertaining a new generation about warfare.
But I am into the fun part of this now. Okay, a lot of my sweat now is in any product. There's the design in that phase, and now it's playtime.
Dave Schultz hopes to interest others in his dream.
So there's my drift. I'd like to establish an industry using scale model armor.
So, if you happen to see a German tank rolling along, you're not dreaming. You're seeing Dave Schultz's dream, at least the beginning of it.
Just how close that dream came to reality is a good question. Larry shot that story in 1997. Since then, he's lost track of Dave and hasn't been able to locate him. If you happen to know what became of Dave Schultz, the tank builder, please drop us a line at hattebergspeople@kpts.org. Here's another gem from the Hatteberg's People Vault, this one from the late 1980s. Their names were Boyd and May Lenway, and they were quite a duo.
All roads lead to Skiddy.
Skiddy, Kansas, located just south of Junction City off 77 Highway. It may be down, but it's not deserted.
I see buildings that you don't see, that were here at one time. This is the old Standard Oil station here.
Why didn't you shave yesterday? I told you to.
I thought about it, but I never got around. I told you I was too doggone busy.
Yeah, doing nothing.
Meet May and Boyd Lenway, lovers for 52 years.
I just kind of call this my office.
Boyd is retired from the horse cavalry. In his office, he collects the relics of his past.
Up on the wall, the top row is all horse cavalry bits.
Let's see now, which one do I want? I've got lots of music.
She'll start whistling upstairs, and I just listen to her and keep on working, you know.
May is known as the Skiddy Whistler.
When I was a teenager, I couldn't whistle a note, and then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, I started whistling. It's a gift.
if I get tired, I'll just go downstairs. I can still listen to it.
Usually they ask me if I need a microphone, you know, and I usually tell them that, no, they can hear me out of the South 40.
With May in the living room, Boyd showed us his years of scouting memorabilia.
This is the new uniform, the newer uniforms here.
He's been an active scout leader and will soon be honored for his work.
I've enjoyed it, really I have.
With Boyd at her side for over 5 decades, the skitty whistler and the old horseman are happy. Happy where one car constitutes a traffic jam and the nearest neighbor only complains when he's hungry.
She goes when she has to go, and I go when I have to go, I know.
It's wonderful.
How's that?
After Larry's visit, those two had several more years together. Boyd passed away in 2000, May in 2004. They're buried at Fort Riley Cemetery, but they live on thanks to videotape and Hatteberg's People. That's a wrap for this show. Next on Hatteberg's People.
When she was 2, polio struck. She lost the use of one arm, and she says she'll never forget how the other kids treated her.
I never outgrew it either. They made so much fun of me, mimicked me the way I walked and the way my hands swung and what have you, that I'm just a person that stays in.
They are the faces of the past, yet their life lessons are timeless. They were residents of the historic Eaton Hotel long after Carrie Nation made a scene there. And before the Eaton became a trendy apartment building, it is a slice of life at a point in time. Also,
it's been overwhelming.
What happens when a local newspaper becomes the news because of a fire? See how townspeople rallied together to help keep the presses rolling in the face of disaster. Plus,
if you're a Christian, there's no reason to be depressed. It's just one of God's things.
thoughts on life and death from the man who took care of the Pretty Prairie Cemetery. This was where he worked and where he reflected on God and the human condition. Those stories and many more are coming your way next week on Hatteberg's People. If you have a question or a comment, we'd love to hear from you. The email address is hattebergspeople@kpts.org. Thank you for watching. I'm Susan Peters. We'll see you next week, this time.
The preceding program was brought to you by TZ Productions, offering 40 years of media experience.